Thank you very much for paying homage to our martyrs who sacrificed their valuable life for the right to self-determination. Now I welcome the keynote speaker, Mr. Livingston, United Nations independent expert on the promotion of the democratic and the equitable international order. I think he's very close to us and he has been addressing so many meetings, and the person who really understands the meaning of right to self-determination. Therefore, he has been trying to understand how we can go about, how we can switch on this particular issue. So therefore, we are very happy to have him with us, and therefore we warmly welcome him for this particular session. The next is today's speakers. And first of all, we welcome Mr. Mustafa Abdul Bari and Reverend Father Dr. Jerry Jumbam and Dr. Paul Newman and Dr. Baban Eliassi and Jesuit Ferris. So all these eminent speakers, they really understand the right to self-determination from their experience in their own countries and in other countries also. So therefore, they have been out of experience, they have vast knowledge regarding this particular right to self-determination. So these are the people who really right to speak this particular issue. And we have been talking and we have been doing and we have been spreading this particular right to self-determination. It's a beautiful occasion where we can come together and share our ideas so that we can launch in action with our understanding, with our knowledge. I think this is a right time that we can come together. So therefore, these eminent speakers really marvelous out of their experience and intellectual caliber. They will be able to guide us back. And next, I welcome all the participants who are really almost 28 people are here. So all the participants with their valuable time, they sacrifice for the sake of this particular right to self-determination and understand and go about with actions. So therefore, I warmly welcome all the participants who really sacrifice their time for this particular session. So we begin with this particular session. I think the opening batsman will be Dr. Father Jerry Jumbam. I think he's a man really who deeply studies on this particular right to self-determination. And he has been working for this particular cause. I think really it's a marvelous job that he has been doing that. So he is a citizen of Southern Cameroon, and he is a Catholic priest and a professor of moral theology in Rome. He holds PhD in sacred theology from the Latin Pontifical University, Rome. His contribution to this literature of the Southern Cameroon struggle for independence is incomparable. He has played a remarkable role in the area of diplomacy and the written word to the liberation struggle of his native land, Ambazonia. And Father Gerald is an African theologian, and because of his courage and independence of mind and inventive imagination, he has created a liberation theology for his continent, which he calls theology of right to self-determination. He makes his theology evident in the following works he has recently authored: Independence or Nothing, 2018, The Next Africa, 2020. So beautiful writings and reflections, and he's a right person to speak up a right to self-determination. I warmly your speech now. Welcome. You can unmute your mic. Yeah.
Okay. Father Kulandai, thank you for the introduction. The opportunity which has been offered me to address an audience with the presence of the UN independent expert on the promotion of a democratic and equitable international order, Mr. Livingston Siwanyana will not be misused if at the outset I venture to express a hope that its bearings on the great question of the British Southern Cameroon's independence may secure for it an extensive circulation, as well as the sympathetic study of all who are interested in the condition of the suffering, the dispossessed, the oppressed, and the colonized peoples in the world. The morality of recapturing our great Southern Cameroonian past, of retrieving our lost dignity as a people, the attempt at salvaging what can still be salvaged from a great disconcerting yesterday is a moral obligation. In page 8 of my book, Independence or Nothing, I raised a very pertinent issue, which is one of the root causes of the present genocide taking place in the British Southern Cameroons. And before I go to that particular point, I want to say that my work is entitled, What Goes Around Comes Around, the Unfinished Responsibility of the UNO in the British Southern Cameroons. I was then talking about my book, Independence or Nothing, the page 8 of it, which I raised a very pertinent issue, which is one of the root causes of the present genocide taking place in the British Southern Cameroons. I was then talking about the defining 1961 UNO plebiscite in the Southern Cameroons, that the options of the plebiscite did not take a democratic process before they reached our people, that they were an imposition from above without the most relevant option, and that the struggle for the independence of the Southern Cameroons today is a definitive answer to those errors of the past. But let me tell this story well by illustrating it with a story, a familiar story. There is a biblical story of the Old Testament Joseph, who rose to become a prime minister in foreign land, Egypt. Joseph becomes the second most powerful person in that country. The brothers of Joseph, who had sold him out like a slave to foreigners, do not know that they will discover the truth. Through this discovery, God will awaken their guilty conscience to what they had done 20 years ago. Ladies and gentlemen, Martin Luther King Jr. once affirmed that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. The United Nations is the greatest institution of nations in the world. It is therefore a moral institution, and every moral institution has a conscience. Conscience is the moral barometer of the heart that senses when we have done good and when we have done wrong. The UNO, like a great moral community that possesses a conscience, has done wonderful things, noble, good, and beautiful things in the world. It has also allowed and sometimes cooperated with some strange phenomena and people at some times. One of such areas since its inception in 1945 is the British Southern Cameroons, my native land. The UNO British Cameroons plebiscite of 1961 carried with it core absurdities and that have affected our people till today. What our people sought to achieve, the plebiscite question belittled it. Get into the archives of the UN and discover this for yourself. The travesty, or rather the comedy played in the plebiscite question. The UN plebiscite question read, do you wish to achieve independence by joining the Independent Federation of Nigeria? Or do you wish to achieve independence by joining the Independent Republic of Cameroon? In simple day-to-day parlance, this is a tautology, because you do not wish to achieve independence by joining another country. That is, in the Oxford Dictionary, independence means free from outside control, not subject to another's authority. Oxford is the intellectual seat of a British scholarship, and Britain hands over the British Southern Cameroons to France and La République du Cameroun and calls it independence. What absurdity. You become independent by being on your own and by taking your own destiny into your own hands. Our problem is not, as some of our distractors spread around, a linguistic problem. We have more than 100 beautiful languages of entire and dignified kingdoms in Ambazonia for an English colonial language to be our problem. Our problem is the scheming manipulation of our forefathers to accept a skeletal independence without flesh, without substance, without anything. It is therefore a problem of stratagem, a scheme that was used in the UN plebiscite of 11th February 1961 to deceive and outwit the innocent and powerless Southern Cameroonian and Hanover land to predators. We know that in the business of self-determination, all, and I mean all, depends on the freedom fighter. But the Secretariat of the UNO has the strongest platform to rouse the conscience of the world on our behalf because they are part of the problem. Believe it or not, the present genocide that is going on in the British Southern Cameroons, the root cause of this Holocaust, as I have said in my book, Independence or Nothing, is the blatant refusal to grant independence to a territory which was supposed to have its independence as other African and Asian countries were granted independence in the 1950s and 1960s. If Tanganyika, a former German territory and mandated territory of the League of Nations under British rule, was given its independence by Britain in 1961, what must have happened to Britain from equally granting independence to the British Cameroons, which was also a former German territory and the mandated territory of the League of Nations under British rule? If the British Cameroons were not supposed to be independent, why then did France and the UNO go ahead to grant independence to the Trust Territory of French Cameroon on 1st January 1960 without consulting British Cameroonians? The British Cameroons was therefore not part of French Cameroon independence and was supposed to rightfully as well have its own independence. In fact, how come it that Namibia, which the world powers qualified as Mandate C territory, that is, a territory with remote chances of becoming independent, should come from behind and become independent, while the British Cameroons, that was called a Mandate B territory in 1919, by the world powers, should still today be clamoring and begging cap in hands for its rightful independence? Time and again, the UNO is spoken of as the family of nations. The UN headquarters could as well be described as a home, a place of welcome and concern for the good family members everywhere. The ideals that inform this organization need animate their modus operandi everywhere they operate. I spoke last time about the brilliant ideas and values of the fathers of the UNO, Roosevelt and Churchill. Dear Southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, I take this opportunity by talking about the UNO and Great Britain, but I am not exonerating us from our share of the blame and from the freedom fighting responsibility which we must assume. Independence is not handed like the head of John the Baptist on a platter of gold. If it is independence, it is to be fought for. There are experts when it concerns physical fighting. I am not. I am a fervent believer in the intellect, the intellectual, the psychological, and the moral and spiritual combat. Most of what is left to be done can be tackled by the ingenious use of our wits, our pens, our social media, and all civilized means for freedom fighting. Our forefathers used to say that a man who does not lick his lips, can he blame the harmattan from drying them? The responsibility is still ours. Thank you.
Thank you for Gerald. Beautifully you analyzed the existing situation in your own country, and you very well declared that UNO is a moral institution having a conscience. So therefore, it is you really very well explained the significance of independence. Being independent is a being of our own, no external force that controls us, and explained the genocide in southern Cameroon. And that's a very beautifully you are very touched with the realities in your country. And you said we fight for independence. That's a really a good thing that you are made. So thank you very much. Thank you for enlightening us.